My dear child, pause here for a moment, because what found you today was not carried by chance. It arrived quietly, almost unnoticed, as though it had been waiting for your heart to become still enough to recognize it. Somewhere beyond the noise of ordinary days, a letter was written with extraordinary care. It was never meant for crowds. It was never meant for every eye. It was meant for yours alone. And although the title speaks of only a few fleeting minutes, the true message is not about time slipping away. It is about recognizing something meaningful before the moment passes unnoticed. Don't skip. Every sentence from this point forward is unfolding like ink appearing across a page that has been waiting patiently for you. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you, and it cannot be understood by rushing ahead. Imagine a blank sheet resting beneath gentle morning light. At first it appears empty, almost ordinary. Then, slowly, delicate words begin to emerge one line at a time, as though they were always there, simply waiting for the right heart to see them. The first sentence is surprisingly simple. I noticed you before you noticed yourself. Read those words carefully. They do not praise perfection. They do not speak about impossible dreams. They speak about the quiet moments that most people overlook. The way you continue hoping after disappointment. The way kindness still finds its place inside your choices. The way you carry questions that never reach your lips. Whoever wrote this letter did not begin with appearances. They began with the parts of you that cannot be captured in a photograph. Something remarkable happens as the next line appears. Instead of promising dramatic miracles or impossible certainty, it reveals a quiet truth. Real connection often grows in silence long before anyone finds the courage to speak it aloud. Have you ever felt that someone understood a piece of your story without hearing every chapter? Have you ever sensed that certain moments carried a meaning you could not explain? The letter lingers over those thoughts without rushing to answer them. It lets every question breathe. That is why this message feels different. It is not demanding belief. It is inviting reflection. The handwriting grows steadier, almost as though confidence has finally replaced hesitation. I wanted you to know that your gentle heart changes rooms before you even enter them. Those words rest there for a while, allowing you to consider every encounter that seemed ordinary at the time. Perhaps a smile you nearly forgot. Perhaps encouragement you offered without expecting anything in return. Perhaps patience shown during a difficult conversation. Small actions often travel farther than we ever realize. The letter reminds you that meaningful impressions are rarely created through grand performances. They are created through consistent sincerity. Then something unexpected happens. The page becomes quiet again. No new sentence appears immediately. That silence is not empty. It is intentional. It gives space for every previous word to settle. Sometimes the deepest messages are not hidden inside long explanations but inside the pauses between them. Don't skip, this pause matters just as much as the next revelation. There is wisdom in allowing anticipation to exist without immediately satisfying it. When the writing returns, it carries warmth instead of urgency. There were moments when I almost spoke, but I wanted my words to be worthy of your heart. Think about that carefully. Many people believe meaningful conversations begin with perfect timing. Yet often they begin with quiet preparation. They begin with someone choosing honesty over haste. They begin with someone hoping their message will bring peace instead of confusion. The letter reflects that same patience. Every sentence feels chosen rather than rushed, gentle rather than loud. As you continue reading, another realization quietly unfolds. The disappearing letter is not disappearing because it wishes to be lost. It fades because meaningful moments are meant to be treasured while they are present. Like sunsets. Like laughter shared unexpectedly. Like conversations remembered years later. The value of something often becomes clearer when we understand it cannot remain untouched forever. That realization softens the heart instead of frightening it. It reminds you to notice beauty while it stands before you. The final lines of this page begin to shimmer as though the ink itself has become light. If you have ever wondered whether your story could still surprise you, keep reading. The next page carries the sentence I have never spoken aloud. The words stop there. Not because the message is incomplete, but because the next chapter deserves its own moment to arrive. The page slowly grows lighter, the handwriting becoming softer with every passing heartbeat, leaving behind one unforgettable feeling that the most meaningful part of the letter has not disappeared at all. It is only waiting to reveal itself when the next page is finally opened. The silence that followed was not empty. It was the kind of silence that lingers after someone has spoken from the deepest part of their heart, leaving every word gently echoing within you. Just when it seemed the page had completely faded, a single sentence quietly returned, brighter than before, as though it had gathered enough courage to be seen at last. Don't skip, this is where the letter begins to reveal why it was meant to find you today. The next line appeared slowly, almost as if each letter was being written in real time. I never wanted you to become someone else for me. I simply hoped you would never stop being yourself. Those words carried no demands, no impossible expectations, only quiet acceptance. They settled into the heart like gentle rain after a long season of waiting. Sometimes the greatest expression of love is not asking someone to change. It is recognizing the beauty that has always been there, even when they cannot see it themselves. The page grew warmer, and another thought emerged beneath the first. There were days when I wondered if our paths would ever cross in the way I imagined. Yet every time doubt appeared, something small reminded me to keep believing. Notice how the letter never speaks about certainty. Instead, it speaks about hope. Real hope is calm. It does not shout. It waits with quiet confidence, trusting that meaningful moments have their own rhythm. Pause here for just a heartbeat. Think about the little moments in your own life that seem too ordinary to remember. A familiar song playing unexpectedly. A peaceful evening when your thoughts finally became still. A smile from someone you didn't expect to notice. The letter gently suggests that these moments are often the ones that stay with us the longest. They become quiet reminders that life is always writing chapters we cannot yet read. As your eyes move lower across the page, the handwriting changes once more. It becomes softer, almost playful, as though the writer is smiling while holding the pen. If I could leave one gift inside your heart, it would be this: never underestimate the quiet light you carry. Those words seem simple, yet they continue unfolding the longer you sit with them. Many people spend years searching for extraordinary signs while overlooking the extraordinary kindness already living inside them. The letter invites you to notice that quiet light instead of chasing louder answers. Something important is waiting for you, but it cannot be rushed. The next paragraph does not arrive immediately. Instead, the page fills with tiny glimmers, like scattered stars resting on paper. Each one seems to represent an unspoken memory, moments that were never forgotten even if they were never discussed. There is something deeply comforting about realizing that gentle moments often leave the strongest impressions. Then, without warning, another sentence slowly appears. I wrote this because I wanted you to know that even distance cannot erase genuine appreciation. Those words feel different. They are not trying to create suspense. They are offering reassurance. Appreciation does not disappear simply because time moves forward. It quietly remains, shaping the way we remember people who have touched our lives with honesty, patience, and compassion. The letter reminds you that sincere connections are often built through countless small moments rather than one dramatic event. As the ink continues flowing, the writer finally shares something they have been holding back from the very beginning. I imagined the moment you would read this many times. I wondered whether you would smile first, or become wonderfully quiet. Perhaps that is exactly what is happening now. Perhaps you are reading more slowly than before. Perhaps every sentence feels strangely familiar, not because you have seen these words, but because they awaken feelings that have always been waiting beneath the surface. Don't skip, the most meaningful part has not arrived yet. Near the bottom of the page, one final paragraph begins to form, but unlike everything before it, the handwriting trembles ever so slightly. I almost left this unwritten because I wasn't sure the timing would ever feel perfect. Then I realized that meaningful words are not remembered because they arrive at the perfect time. They are remembered because they arrive at the right heart. The page glows softly once again. Every previous sentence now seems connected, as though they were quietly preparing you for something even deeper. And just before this page begins to fade, one unfinished line appears, stopping halfway through the sentence. The next words are the ones I have carried the longest, because they reveal the reason I never stopped. The ink pauses. The sentence remains unfinished. And somehow, that unfinished ending says more than any completed page ever could. A gentle breeze seems to turn the page on its own, yet nothing rushes forward. For a brief moment, there is only stillness, as though the letter itself is taking one careful breath before revealing what has remained hidden from the very beginning. The unfinished sentence waits patiently, inviting you to lean a little closer instead of hurrying ahead. Stay till the end, because what comes next is not louder than before, it is simply more honest. The ink begins flowing again. Because I never stopped believing that one day these words would finally reach you. The sentence is complete now, but instead of feeling like an ending, it feels like the opening of an entirely new chapter. Every line before this was preparing your heart to hear something remarkably simple. The writer was never trying to impress you. They were trying to be understood. Another sentence quietly appears beneath it. There were moments when I wanted to fill these pages with extraordinary promises. But every time I tried, I realized the truth was far more beautiful. The page remains still. I simply wanted you to know that you matter more than you realize. Those words carry no decoration. They need none. Sometimes the quietest truths travel the farthest because they ask nothing from the listener except a willing heart. Don't skip. The letter has not reached its deepest page yet. Without warning, the handwriting changes once more. It becomes lighter, almost joyful, as though every word is smiling before it reaches the page. I kept noticing the little things. Not the moments everyone celebrates. Not the achievements everyone applauds. The little things. The way you continue moving forward even when nobody notices your effort. The way you still hope after disappointment. The way you choose kindness when it would be easier to become distant. Each sentence feels less like a confession and more like someone quietly placing treasured memories onto paper, one after another. For a while, no new words appear. Instead, faint outlines begin to emerge around the edges of the page. They resemble pressed flowers tucked inside an old book, small reminders that beautiful things can remain preserved long after seasons have changed. They seem to whisper a gentle thought without speaking aloud. Meaningful connections are remembered through ordinary moments. The page slowly brightens again. I wondered if you ever realized how many lives become a little lighter simply because you are yourself. Read that once more. Not because you tried to become extraordinary. Not because you became someone different. Simply because you remained yourself. Something important is waiting for you. The next paragraph arrives almost like a sunrise, gradual enough that you hardly notice the darkness fading until everything around you feels warmer. There was one sentence I rewrote more than any other. The ink pauses. I wasn't afraid of writing it. Another pause. I was afraid you wouldn't believe it. The anticipation settles gently rather than sharply. Finally, the long-awaited sentence appears. You have always been far more lovable than your doubts have allowed you to believe. Nothing else follows immediately. The page gives those words room to breathe. Perhaps that is because some sentences deserve silence after them. Not silence born from emptiness. Silence born from understanding. As your eyes drift toward the bottom corner, you notice something unexpected. A small handwritten note that was never meant to stand out. If you are smiling right now, even a little, then this letter has already fulfilled its purpose. The simplicity of that thought lingers longer than expected. It reminds you that genuine affection is often measured in peaceful moments rather than dramatic ones. Then, almost hidden beneath the fading ink, another message begins revealing itself. I have one final page. The handwriting becomes steadier than ever before. It is the only page I folded before placing this letter away. Why fold only one page? Why protect only one message? The answer does not come immediately. Instead, a tiny golden seal slowly appears across the fold, holding the last page closed. Across that seal, only 7 handwritten words can be read. Open this only when your heart feels ready. The rest remains hidden. The letter grows quieter. The page begins to fade once again. Yet before the final traces of ink disappear, one last unfinished thought shines softly beneath the folded corner. What I wrote inside changed everything after. The folded page rests quietly before you, untouched for what feels like an endless moment. Nothing urges you to open it. Nothing insists. Somehow, that gentle patience makes the mystery even deeper. It is as though the letter has always trusted that when the right moment arrived, your heart would recognize it without anyone having to say another word. Don't skip, this page carries a different kind of truth, one that can only be understood by reading slowly. The golden seal begins to shimmer, not with brilliance, but with warmth. It does not break all at once. Instead, it looses gently, almost gratefully, as though it has fulfilled the only purpose it ever had to protect these final words until they were truly ready to be seen. As the page unfolds, the handwriting is immediately different. There is no hesitation. No trembling. Every letter is calm. Every sentence feels certain. The first line appears. If you are reading this now, then you chose curiosity over fear, hope over hesitation, and patience over rushing ahead. The words remain still, inviting you to stay with them for a little longer. Many people spend their lives searching for extraordinary signs while quietly walking past extraordinary moments. This letter was never trying to become the loudest voice in your day. It simply hoped to become the one you would remember long after everything else had grown quiet. Another sentence forms beneath it. I wanted to tell you something that could never fit inside ordinary conversation. The ink pauses. I admired the person you were becoming long before you believed you were changing. There is something comforting about those words. Growth is rarely noticed while it is happening. A tree does not hear itself growing. A sunrise does not watch itself becoming morning. Yet both quietly transform the world around them. Perhaps hearts grow in the very same way. Stay till the end. The most personal paragraph is only beginning. The page fills with graceful lines, each one carrying the feeling of someone choosing honesty above perfection. There were days when I almost convinced myself to remain silent forever. But every quiet day reminded me of one simple truth. Some words become heavier the longer they remain unspoken. The letter does not rush into dramatic confessions. Instead, it gently unwraps them. Like opening a carefully protected keepsake that has waited years to be discovered. Then comes a sentence unlike anything written before. I hope life always reminds you how deeply your presence matters, even on days when you cannot see it yourself. No promises. No impossible claims. Just quiet encouragement wrapped inside sincere affection. For a long moment, the page becomes still again. Then something unexpected happens. Tiny handwritten notes begin appearing around the margins, almost like thoughts the writer added at the very last second. I smiled while writing this. I erased this sentence twice because it didn't sound honest enough. I wondered if this page would ever reach you. I hoped it would. Those little notes somehow reveal even more than the carefully written paragraphs. They make the writer feel wonderfully human. Thoughtful. Patient. Real. Something important is waiting for you. One final section slowly appears near the bottom. This letter was never meant to answer every question. It was meant to remind you that meaningful connections are built one quiet moment at a time. Then comes a sentence that seems to pause the entire story. If our paths continue unfolding, I hope the next beautiful words are no longer written on paper. I hope they are spoken. The page almost seems alive now. Every previous sentence echoes together like pieces of a melody finally finding harmony. You begin realizing that this was never only a letter. It was a journey toward honesty, toward appreciation, toward hope. Yet there is still one mystery left. At the very bottom of the page sits a tiny envelope, drawn directly onto the paper itself. It had gone unnoticed until now. Across the front, written in elegant handwriting, are just a few quiet words. For the day you finally believe every word I wrote. The envelope remains sealed. No one tells you what is inside. No explanation follows. No final answer appears. Only the gentle feeling that whatever rests within that last hidden message is not meant to be hurried. Because some of the most unforgettable words are the ones that wait patiently for the perfect ending. For a while, nothing moves. The little envelope rests exactly where it has always been, quiet and unassuming, almost inviting you to overlook it. Yet the longer you look, the more you realize it was never hidden. It was simply waiting for your attention instead of demanding it. There is a remarkable difference between something that seeks to be noticed and something that patiently waits to be discovered. Stay till the end, because this final message was never about curiosity alone. It was about understanding everything that came before. As your fingers gently lift the edge of the envelope, you notice something unusual. It feels incredibly light, as though it contains only a single sheet. Yet somehow, it carries the weight of every page you have already read. The seal opens without resistance, almost as if it had been expecting this exact moment. Inside is not a long confession. Not a dramatic declaration. Only one carefully folded note. You unfold it slowly. The handwriting is unmistakable. Every letter is calm. Every space between the words feels intentional. The first sentence appears. If you have reached this page, thank you for reading with your heart instead of your expectations. Those words settle gently within you. Throughout this journey, the letter never asked you to become someone different. It never tried to convince you that extraordinary things happen only through grand moments. Instead, it quietly revealed that the most meaningful connections are often built through patience, kindness, honesty, and the courage to remain genuine. Another sentence begins to appear. I hoped these pages would leave you with something more valuable than answers. The ink pauses. I hoped they would leave you with peace. For a long moment, there are no more words. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that follows when every sentence has already found its place. Then, beneath that silence, another thought slowly forms. If this letter made you smile even once, then somewhere, the distance between two hearts became a little smaller. It is such a simple line. Yet it feels larger than every mystery that came before. Don't skip. There is one final page. As you turn it over, you discover something unexpected. The page is almost completely blank. Only the very center contains writing. Just one paragraph. I once believed the perfect love letter had to contain perfect words. I know differently now. The most beautiful letters are not remembered because every sentence was flawless. They are remembered because every sentence was sincere. The page seems brighter than any before it. Not because of what is written. Because of what it allows you to feel. You begin remembering every earlier sentence. I noticed you before you noticed yourself. You matter more than you realize. You have always been far more lovable than your doubts allowed you to believe. I hoped the next beautiful words would one day be spoken. None of those lines were trying to predict the future. They were quietly celebrating the value already present within the heart reading them. Something important has been waiting for you since the very first page. Not another hidden message. Not another secret. A realization. The disappearing letter was never disappearing because it wanted to leave. It disappeared because its purpose was never to remain on paper. Its purpose was to remain in memory. The final line begins writing itself more slowly than every other sentence. So whenever life becomes noisy again, remember that somewhere inside you, these words are still being read. The ink comes to a gentle stop. No more pages appear. No hidden envelopes remain. Only one tiny handwritten signature rests beneath the final sentence. It does not reveal a name. It simply says, "Until our stories meet again." The paper gradually becomes blank once more. The handwriting fades with quiet grace. The letter disappears exactly as promised. But somehow, its most meaningful words never do.